Hey chat, today is our first video in quite some time, but that's okay. So, today I'm here to talk to you about Mormons, specifically Mormon wives, and specifically the secret lives of those Mormon wives, the second time. Today we're going to be covering season 2 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I watched season 1 all the way through for a paper that I did about Mormons in reality TV. Now we are watching season 2 live reaction, and we are going to be talking about how Mormon these women are. I want to preface this by saying I myself am not Mormon. I was not raised Mormon. I was raised Catholic. Do I feel qualified to speak on this? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Because these women are put on my screen to be judged by me. Why? Because I'm the audience. So that is how I'm going into this. A lot of people debate whether or not these women are Mormon enough. Whether they're Mormon, period, really. There are many sources saying like these women are too lax and liberal about the rules, which yes, they are more liberal. They do make it seem one way or the other that there is this dated idea in Mormonism that women are less than. But what I like is that they are trying to change that. They see the problem and they want to fix it. But a lot of Mormons don't like that. They're thinking like, you know, our religion is our religion. It is our lifestyle. It is how we view the world. It is who we are. Like, you wanting to change and update it, they just feel offended. But I think it's unfair to say that because they want to push this culture forward that they aren't Mormon, because they are. Some of them have temple recommends. One of them literally has a temple bag. Hi, Demi. Some of them wear garments, and they talk openly and honestly about that. They follow the word of wisdom. A lot of them do, even if not perfectly. They talk about these things openly. They talk about church, and they show us them praying at the end of the night. And obviously these women are Mormon. Most of them got married when they were like 18, very young. I'm 19 and can't imagine myself married with a child. Like, that's crazy. But clearly Mormonism has enough of an impact on these women's lives to have them be Mormon wives at 30 or younger. The youngest is like 23, 22, last time I checked. It's just crazy to me that these people don't think that they're Mormon when they literally are. Like, yeah, so me and Hatsune Miku are going to be watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Season 2. Everyone get excited. I'm gonna be taking notes and trying to recap. I'm just gonna play the sound out loud, and you're gonna try your best to hear. I'll insert clips when I can, because I'm so sorry I don't have multiple cameras. I can't, and Hulu doesn't let me screen record, which is really mean and awful of them. Like, how dare you? All right, chat, let's get this rocking and rolling. Season 2, episode 1.
Perfect way to kick off one of my favorite holidays, which is Halloween. Sometimes there's a misconception, do Mormons celebrate Halloween? Yes, we do. I do think the church had an issue with Mom Tot trying to break the patriarchy, but YOLO. Is that Miranda? What the hell?
Miranda.
Oh, shit. It can't
No. There's a new woman, and they already all look the same. I can't handle this. There was 8, and it was already really hard telling Jen and Demi apart. Hang on. And Jesse, too. Hang on. I'm gonna cry.
We are separated.
They're separated!
I never thought I would get to this. Back with Mom Tot.
Yay! Okay, I want to say this. Not yay that her and her husband are separated. I want Jen's happiness. I want her to be happy. I want her to learn and grow. you know? So it's unfortunate for her. But it's like, girl, that man, terrible, sucks big ass balls. Like, you're literally putting him through college and medical school, and then he said, I don't care about your livelihood. Girl, bye. Girl, bye.
Reached out to my dean and put in my application to leave medical school. And my feelings towards Mom Talk haven't honestly completely changed.
Oh, don't piss me off. First of all, shocking that you left medical school, probably to be a stay-at-home dad, but it's like, so you still don't like Mom Talk, even though that is what put you through college. Right. And now that you're leaving, what are you gonna do now?
But I feel like a lot of our marriage, I've made it.
He apologized for everything.
Lord have mercy.
Suspect thinks that getting pregnant at 16 is a flex. What if they just start making out? I absolutely think that truth is the basis of trust. So they need to sit down and have this conversation.
I know that there is
She
a
made
lot
Mom
of
Talk out of
speculation
cheese.
about
I took a lot of notes and a lot of doodles. I took a lot of notes. The thing is with this show is that there is a lot mentioned about Mormonism. Like, from our first episode, we have 16 like Mormon relations, like reference to Mormonism in some way, shape, or form. But I think what's really concentrated around this episode when it comes to the topic of Mormon values is family. Because as we know, Jen is going through some struggles with her husband and her husband Zach, and Taylor is going through struggles with her ex-boyfriend and father of her newest child, Dakota. I think family at the center is definitely a core value and foundational value in the LDS church and within LDS people. Like Taylor's mom even reiterated that. And it's really interesting because it's obvious that Taylor was really hurt and really damaged by everything that went on. And I do think that her almost co-signing the purity culture by saying like the Mormon church should be like teaches that you should wait to have sex until you find the person you want to marry, that it did cause the situation. Like her saying that and almost co-signing this value, this teaching, because family is at the core, and she feels like she's ruining her own family because, you know, her son doesn't have a dad now. He's only one call away, but she doesn't want to make that call, you know? And so I think having that is really interesting, like this interesting juxtaposition and dichotomy. But I think her attesting to that purity culture and like that value of sex after marriage is really important. Like that is a big like co-sign of a lot of Mormon teachings and Mormon values. I also think that Jen has become more liberal in this season, at least in this episode, of like how she views her role as mother and wife and as a woman in the Mormon church and in the family unit. Because before she was very submissive with Zach, and she even says that like within the church, women are supposed to submit to their husbands. But now she sees that marriage should be between two equals. And something that I really enjoyed from Jen is that she said every woman deserves her feelings put first. She deserves her feelings validated. She deserves to be listened to. And that is like a core, like something that everyone should believe. But I think it's really refreshing to hear this come from Jen, who is like the Mormon, the Mormon of Mormons in the show, in the group, at least in season 1, and then have her take this more liberal approach to the roles that the Mormon church has for the family unit. And I think that's really interesting, and I think that's a good thing, but I am also not a Mormon. But I do think it's interesting and something to note. Also, like, Jen and Zach take ketamine together as like ketamine therapy. Never in my life have I heard of ketamine therapy until I started watching The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and this show. Like, there's something in the water in Utah. And like, I think the technician was like, ketamine is a gray area because it's not promoted, but it's not condemned by the church. So that was interesting. But yeah, there's definitely a lot here, but that's really the main core of it. It's really about like family values and how everyone, like the roles that women compared to men fit within the family value, within the family unit, within the Mormon family unit, and how important that Mormon family unit is to these people.
Miranda skirted around the issue a lot. I'm throwing a Halloween party next week. So
she's not fucking ready. She's not ready. She's not ready. Oh my God, who freaking cares? She's not ready. She could barely admit that she kissed other people's... She's not ready, and that's fucking okay. She just wants her community back. She's a single fucking mom. Who cares? God.
I think I need to expand my guest list. I'm throwing a Halloween party next week, so I think I need to expand my guest list. Miranda's ex-husband, Chase, is dating my friend, so not only am I going to invite him, I invited Miranda too. I think that trust is everything.
Why is Jessie so fucking messy?
Is she just not trustworthy as a person? Does she not like confrontation, and she doesn't like to make people upset, so she tells everyone what they want to hear? I'm really, really confused.
Pause. Okay, so I thought that we were pro-women, pro-community, but as soon as you hear conflicting opinions from the man, from the perpetrator, now we're like, oh, so the victim's a liar. That's crazy. And I know it's like not as big of a deal as like, you know, not believing the victim in like serious scenarios of sexual assault or things like that, but it's very much not believing the victim, in my opinion. Like, sure, we can use words like narcissism willy-nilly. That is something our generation is definitely guilty of. But he was being narcissistic, and I don't think it's unfair of her to say that. And Demi even said he was being narcissistic. And so I don't think it's fair for Jessie to suddenly flip-flop and say, no, 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 no. I think Jen's not trustworthy. Zach's the one trying to win you over. Lock in. Also, I'm not calling Zach a liar. I definitely think he has changed for the better, and this is being shown, especially since he cut his hair. I'm kidding. But he's definitely, you know, grown and changed in some ways. But I don't think it's fair to say that he wouldn't try to take a situation and also try and come out the better person. Come out better than maybe he actually was. And I don't think it's unfair to say that Jen also did that, but I think it's, what I don't like is that they're putting all that weight onto Jen and saying she's the only one doing that. I don't think that's fair. And maybe Jen exaggerated some things, and that's not okay, but at the core of it, she's just not feeling supported. Like, what the fuck? Hey guys, so we are back for a recap of episode 2 of season 2 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Not much happened in terms of how Mormon these women appear to be. Like, they went to a happy hour and they went to a Halloween party, but it didn't seem like there was any alcohol there. So what is there for me to judge and say like, oh, they were following the word of wisdom? They seem to be doing just fine. Some women were dressed more provocatively, I guess that is true. like women were dressed more provocatively. But a lot of Mormon women do dress, like do find loopholes in order to show their goods. And that's okay. Like in order to like either not wear garments or just wear clothes that make them feel confident, and they are still regarded as Mormon. And I think that should apply the same to these ladies. I think it should also be mentioned that Jen wants to go to church. She wants to be religious and have this relationship with God. And I think that a lot of the stuff that was discussed is forgiveness. Forgiveness and when you move on, and forgiving yourself, I think, is a big thing. Whitney talks about how in the church an open heart and forgiveness is taught. And she felt like she hasn't been getting that from the other women, and she hasn't been. But Taylor is opening her heart and saying, you went through a lot, and I've been there too, and I empathize. And I think that's really important. And I also think it's important to note that, like, the church is a big reason why a lot of, like, Miranda and Chase were so scared to talk about the swinging drama. Anyone would be, because sex is so taboo in America, but it gets even worse in the church. And a lot of it, like a lot of these scandals and sex stuff and like sex issues, it happens in any marriage, and it happens in Mormon marriages, and it's talked about how Mormon women put up with that. They put up with more shit, more like unfair or toxic elements in relationships because divorce is frowned upon. I think it's really cool that these women are talking and saying, like, I've been divorced, I am divorced, it's how it is. I'm moving on, I'm doing my best to live my life as a Mormon and as a member of the LDS Church in the best way I can. And I think that's really important. And I think it's important to forgive. And of course, a part of that forgiveness goes back to Taylor forgiving herself, because she was talking at this barbecue like it is her fault for giving it up so easy and like not having that self-respect or having that trash, like that trashy mentality, she says. But it did seem like her parents were blaming her for giving it up so easy and getting herself in this unfortunate situation. Yes, that's part of the unfortunate situation, but it's butterfly effect. It's not the only thing going into it. Of course, if that didn't happen, this whole thing wouldn't have, but there's things down the line that they could have done differently to help to better deal with that fact going into it. And something I will say is really important here is that, like, important reference to God is, I think Taylor's sister brings this up and says, God is not a punisher. And I think that's a really interesting perspective, especially with how Taylor has been talking and treating herself in regards to everything that she's done and said and seen. So yeah, those are all the Mormon mentions in episode 2.
That's crazy. Yeah, let's talk about what you've done.
What you've done.
Oh, you want me to bring you up?
Do you want me to bring you up?
Listen. Oh, okay.
So it was surprising to me that Demi got really upset.
Hey guys, I don't care about this drama. I think it's dumb and stupid. Miranda, I'm on your side. Kate, I'm on your side. The guy in the back going, every 2 seconds, I'm on your side. Like, you guys are divas, and you are loved by me, and Hatsune Miku, and Ricky.
I walked past you and said, hey, where's Brett? I didn't mean to. Take ownership! You bullshit. Take ownership, right?
Divas! Like, I'm sorry, is what people should be doing, like standing up for women. All right, welcome back, chat. We just finished episode 3. There wasn't much relating to Mormonism here, except really relating to motherhood. Like, Whitney had her child, yay! Healthy baby boy. Whitney is healthy, but she said being a mom is one of the greatest callings for women, and that it's being a mom is the closest that Whitney feels to God. And she said that it's easy to get distracted by like worldly things, but family is what truly matters. And if that's not Mormon, I don't know what is. And then something I noticed about Jen is that she realized that she was pregnant. And in that, she was like, I'm really scared, like I'm not the person I want to be right now to have a child, and my marriage is rocky right now, like I'm terrified. And I noticed in that moment that like abortion or adoption, it's not even seen as an option as a Mormon woman, because it's just you will have to take care of this child. It's unfortunate that she's in this position at all. All women deserve to have the right to choose. Miranda was touching on the swinging scandal for a bit, and she said she was terrified of how she would be perceived after the scandal as a Mormon, and how she's still uncomfortable admitting stuff. And that's totally valid because of the purity culture and how judgy like people can be. Not just Mormons, but just people in general can be towards things like this. Like, as I was saying before, like, sex is taboo in America already, but then you add on the Mormon culture of it all, and it gets worse, unfortunately. Religious cultures just make that purity ideal so much worse, and it's just the unfortunate fact of the matter. So yeah.
Cameron's my boyfriend. He seriously is the best. Me and Cam's connection is a lot different than me and my ex's, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna always be there until we fix it. Yeah, rewire your brain. It might be best for her to go, but if she doesn't feel like it's the best thing for her, she needs to be supported in that journey.
A lot of these tough situations could have been avoided.
Okay, chat, we finished episode 4, and that one was one. I can't say I've been enjoying this season as much as I did the last. There feels to be less on the Mormon part of Mormon wives, and more on like the interpersonal relationship between the women, which I guess is what they probably wanted as like a reality show, but you know, bad for me. Anyways, I will say Layla, Queen, she has a boyfriend, right? Okay, her boyfriend Cam, his family is very strong in the church, and so he tends to be a bit more conservative, which is like, you know, fine. But Layla is wanting a good relationship with sex, but she's finding it hard because of the church. And Cam's family, not that they have to, but they don't know that he's like having sex. And so I think it's just them figuring out how to have a healthy relationship with these things that are frowned upon in the church, but are healthy for people their age. Like, Layla is 23 years old. I'm not saying that they shouldn't follow Mormon values because they're 23, but I think that them trying to navigate them being young and wanting to have sex and wanting to express that part of themselves while also wanting to be good Mormons is something very interesting to watch them navigate. And I think they deserve to have a good relationship with sex even though they're not married. And something I noticed is that Jen is feeling very lost in terms of her purpose, and a lot of it is because that she has a rocky relationship with her husband, and so this purpose of women being good wives and mothers in the Mormon church is kind of clashing with where she has where she's at right now. And I know that must be really hard for her. And I feel really bad. Also, the women have a sex party. They're not having an orgy, but they're having like a sex education, heavy air quotes education party. And it's just like kind of dumb because they're not learning anything. I mean, Layla realized that like she doesn't even know what turns her on and she needs to figure that out, and that's important. It's kind of it. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just like a bunch of girls with riding crops being confused and not wanting to do anything. So yeah, there's not much. I really can't say there is much. I'm gonna get a snack. Our snack of choice is Cheez-Its today. Have my water so I make sure that I don't eat too much salt and like poop my brains out. But yeah, today's gonna be episode 5, home stretch. We're halfway. I can't believe there's freaking 10 episodes and they're longer. Like, pick one.
I don't know who wrote the card that Jen was fake. If it wasn't Demi or Jesse because they have this weird beef, then the position. Have you tried them all? Yes.
Oh my gosh. Can we just have like a calm, chill girls trip?
I am feeling very apprehensive about this.
Okay, here's the thing. They want a calm, chill girls trip, but they're actively choosing to not go to Whitney's baby shower or respond to the group chat message from Whitney saying like, hey, I want to do something nice for Macy. Shall we plan something? Like, it doesn't seem like you want to be chill or calm with everyone that's going, so why do you expect a chill, calm girls trip? Like, that's crazy.
Honestly, like, it makes me question your character.
Breathe. I'm gonna get another snack. I need to breathe.
Mention flying down a male stripper. She never mentioned.
She said there are things that I want to keep as a surprise, and you said totally go for it. That would be so fun.
Also, this is my new snack.
You're such a prude. Okay, what's my top?
Yeah, she's a fucking prude. She's a Mormon. She wears... Yes, she's a fucking prude. She's religious. Religious people are normally prudes, and that's okay. It's just like, people can be prudes. It's all right. Like, people don't have to be okay with every single little thing that you want to do. I understand where Demi and Jesse are coming from when they are saying that you gave consent, Jen. But they did say, like, these were some extra surprises. And she said that was okay. But I also think it's okay for her to say, I feel uncomfortable after finding out what those surprises are. I don't like what the surprises were. I think that's fair to say, given she's not saying that very well.
Okay, so you're not my friend, but you can blatantly harass me on the internet. That's okay.
harassing you on
Then
the
what are you
internet.
doing? What is it that you're doing?
But she is. She's making these videos about Whitney. And she has every right to be upset about them. Whitney does, because they're about her. I'm not saying Michaela had no right to post them. She absolutely does. Excuse me. But what I'm saying is that she should be understanding. Like, she should know, like, yeah, these are hurtful and I am making these videos at your expense. So of course you're gonna be upset about them. She should know that. Hey chat, I have just finished episode 5. I also want to apologize for the drastic change in lighting. The sun's going down. And we still have 5 more episodes to go. We will get through this, trust and believe though. Anyway, for this episode, there wasn't much Mormon references, but there was explicit ones. Once again, a lot about forgiveness. So Macy was talking about how Mom Talk feels very hostile with one another, and yet they are taught in the church to be loving, Christ-like, and forgiving, and she doesn't feel like she's seeing that. And Whitney echoes this in a confession as well, saying, she even brought up a Bible reference, a Bible citation, I think it's from Venetians, on forgiveness, and she's saying that she does not feel like she is being forgiven when she is trying to understand and move past the bad things that she has done, that she admits to. And also, this whole Jessie Jen thing, I find kind of dumb, because I think it's perfectly valid for Jen to after finding out what the surprises are, be like, my boundaries were crossed, and yet Jessie calls her a prude. I think that's unfair. Yes, she's a prude. You're raised in a purity culture. Like, just because you don't still have that mindset, that purity culture mindset, she does, and that's okay. It's about what being friends is about acknowledging those boundaries and saying, hey, you're right, I'm sorry, I didn't know that would be too far for you, and I won't do it again. Like, what the freak, guys? What the freak? Also, I think they should just stop playing pranks, because every time that they've tried to play a prank, the prank-e has gotten their feelings hurt. And I think if we wanna be sisters, we're gonna stop playing these freaking pranks, bro. This is ridiculous. Grown women.
It is making sense that she's been a little off, but it doesn't excuse the behavior and treating your friends badly. No, I was shocked too. I don't think it was planned. And
Okay, I'm not treating your friends badly. Yes, she's pregnant, but she's having such a tough time in her relationships. Like, her marriage is on the freaking rocks. When you're going through something so hard and so difficult, of course you're not going to be a good friend. Of course. Like, I'm not saying they should expect it or that it's totally excusable. Like, she's still doing these things, but you should be more understanding as to where she's coming from. Like, she's not gonna be a good friend, and that's okay. We all have periods where we're terrible friends. And they have every right to speak out about it, but it's just, I feel like they should be a lot more understanding with her. They're not giving her grace.
They shouldn't be surprised that I'm doing this, because I love instigating drama. All right, you guys.
And you're shitty for that, dude.
Nobody wanted me there. Nobody wanted me. That's you.
That's so sad.
It's a true character. That's why when I was literally.
I hate this. I hate when people say, oh, it's their true character coming out, and someone's just angry or upset. That is not their true character. That is them being angry and upset. That is not who they are. You are not defined by your bad moments. You are not defined when you are angry. You're angry. You're not gonna act the way you would when you're completely calm. And that's okay. That's normal and natural. We are not defined by our angry moments. And yet, they are going to sit here and say that Whitney's true colors show when she is angry. And that is not fair. And that is not true. She's angry. She's not going to act completely normal. She's not going to act right all the time. And that's okay. We all have bad moments.
I need to take a step back from Mom Talk and solely focus on my mental health and this baby around me.
I'm sorry.
I think something that would help Jen, although I understand why she would be hesitant to do this, is just going into the group chat and saying, hey, I'm sorry that I can't be there for you, and I'm sorry I've been a bad friend, but right now I'm going through a really tough time. I'm having these really scary, dangerous thoughts, and because of that, I'm like having this really intense depressive episode, and so I need to take a step back from mom talk and focus on me and my kids. And I think that would be really great, and everyone would be understanding, hopefully. They stopped filming with Jen so she can focus on her. Yay! Everyone cheered. Okay, guys, so that was episode 6. That was episode 6. And once again, like, they really toned down the Mormonism, like the Mormon influences. It definitely is brought up. In every episode, I have like 4 to 5 bullet points minimum, but I just feel like it was more last season. Like, it's more than like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, of course, but I don't know. It's just different. Anyway, for episode 6 though, something that I noticed is a lot of talk about, honestly, there's not a main theme. It's really just bouncing around here. So like the first point is on Mormons' idea of perfection. They want to be perceived as perfect. Everyone does, of course, but it seems like it is emphasized more in Mormon culture. And there's a point made towards Demi and how she wants to make sure that her relationship with Brett looks perfect, even though there might be some skeletons in that closet. And then they prayed before dinner, work divas. Michaela had this quote that said, "Forgiveness may be godly, but so is sticking up for yourself," which I found really cool, fun, and interesting. Like, I definitely feel like she is not forgiving, so she's not being godly in that sense, but she is sticking up for herself, and I do think that's important. I just wish she gave people a wee bit more grace, but hey, that's me. And then Macy said, they go to a nightclub, and they say, Macy says, "Mormons don't drink but love to dance." And it was really fun seeing them have fun. They were getting wild, but like, Mormons gone wild, so what? Like, they're not like breaking any rules specifically. I mean, they are being more explicit and pushing taboos, definitely. But other than that, I don't see a problem as a non-Mormon and someone who's raised outside of the church. But I definitely can see how Mormons in the church are like, whoa, they're being indecent. Which is not how most Mormons act, according to some sources. But even then, my biggest problem with, but most Mormons don't act like that, well, there's still that subset that do, and I think it is important to represent these people and show that Mormons aren't just these stick-in-the-mud stereotypes. They're also fun-loving, and they can be risque, and they can do things that are a bit indecent, and that's all right. And then also Demi submitted to her husband. That's kind of it. Hey, how y'all doing? I know, you're all probably wondering what happened to me. I'm cursed. It's true, a witch put a curse on me when I was very young, and it's absolutely just incapable of being reversed, and it is that whenever I get wet, I turn into an amorphous blob. I'm ugly. I turn ugly. I turn into a green, blind, wet monster. And I'm sorry you have to see this, but I must get through this show. I must. I want this done tonight. And then Betty bye. And this is not gonna get in the way of that. Absolutely not. And I know you're wondering what's the green stuff on your face. It's acne cream. It's acne spot treatment cream. And if you judge me, Hatsune Miku will come for you. She will bomb you. Sorry. Anyway, episode 7, guys.
Good. Just recovering from the girls' trip. How are you feeling about Friendsgiving and everything? With you being like, we love each other, right? Yeah, no shit. Why do we keep talking about it?
Alright, episode 7 done. We are ignoring the fact that my bangs look a little stupid. I just put them in a curler. Whatever. Okay, so. Once again, not like clear, like Mormon value theme, but this one definitely had more insight into like Mormon symbols and things that are important to Mormonism, like, you know, baking and homemaking and all that jazz. Jesse touched on how Utah gets super into holidays because of the homemaking aspect, and Macy brings in that baking is also a huge thing in the Mormon church, specifically because of the whole homemaking aspect in that culture, and how like sweet treats are brought to every church event. And we learn a little more about like niches and like the baking sphere, I guess, with Demi making a better than what cake, which is the Mormon version of a better than sex cake. Never heard of either. And then Whitney brings up this really important symbol to Mormons called CTR, which is choose the right. Not politically, but like it's like a reminder and symbol of Mormon values. And like they had like a Mormon themed bake off, so there's a bunch of references to like Jesus Christ, and there's Joseph Smith and all that jazz. Yay! 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 Episode 8. Guys, that was episode 8. I didn't film. I'm exhausted. But I do have one note about Mormonism, and that's from Macy. There wasn't much Mormon talk. Itchy, sorry. The Mormon chitter chatter was from Macy, as I said. And she's talking about IVF, and she's having a baby via IVF. Work! And she's saying the church's stance on IVF isn't clear, but she doubts the church would be against it because they're just pro babies and big families in general. So yeah, that's all. I'm tired. Next episode, I might not film again. I'm just so eepy, bro. Squad, Miku and I are back with another Mormon recap, this time episode 9 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 2. Miku, sit up. Okay. Actually, a lot of like in-depth like Mormon culture stuff, specifically about temple. It was really interesting to find out like how Mormons view the afterlife in more detail and in more depth. Like being sealed to the temple means that you are sealed in the afterlife. So even if you get a divorce, if that seal isn't broken, you're still sealed to your ex. And I thought that was really interesting. That was Jesse's experience. And Miranda was talking about how she was really scared of the afterlife because after her ex-husband left the church, that meant that she wasn't sealed to her children. And it was really interesting. And I thought it was really important for them to talk about their worries and fears, especially as they went through these breakups and divorces and hard times. And of course, just like, you know, normal stuff, like moving on from a religion. They also recited a Young Women's Group pledge, which is like, Young Women's is like this group that Mormon girls go into when they're 13 as like a way to form community in the church. And also they played this game of pregnancy roulette where they all take pregnancy tests and see what happens. And Whitney said, one of us in this room is bound to be pregnant. And I thought that was really funny. But other than that, not much else. But this temple sealing talk was real cool. And something I didn't know before. Happy to know now. Chat, we did it. We made it. That was the final episode of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 2, Episode 10. All that was mentioned was Layla said that we were taught in the Mormon church to respect others. that's it. Overall, this season was not as Mormon influenced as the other one, which I kind of missed out on. Of course, Mormonism impacts these women still. Like, in every episode, something was brought up relating to the church or how they were raised or the culture around being a Mormon or Utah. And that's really important, because if the fact that they can't go an episode without bringing it up, it shows how deeply ingrained this religion is. And I mean, Macy was talking about how she was pregnant with her first child when she was a sophomore in college. I'm going to be a sophomore in college. She was a sophomore in college and a tennis athlete. Crazy to me. I just, like, you can't say that this hasn't impacted their lives when she has an 8-year-old at home from that very pregnancy. You can't tell me that Mormonism doesn't affect their lives when Demi wants nothing more than to get pregnant with her husband's child. You can't tell me that they're not Mormon when there's always someone pregnant in their group, as Whitney said. They can have all the drama they want. They can go out and be crazy. But they are Mormon. And that's why they preach these teachings of forgiveness and, well, that was really the main thing, forgiveness and respect in this season. But that's what they were taught. And they went a little bit in depth into like different church teachings and ideals, but I think it's really in their culture and in their character. It's deeply within them. And it's unfair to rip that away from their identity when it's truly so formative. Like, I don't know, I'd be called the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives if they're not Mormon. The true questions. Like, they're Mormon, deal with it. Sorry. Yeah. It's 1 a.m. Good night.